Welcome to the StockMiner.com studios. I'm your StockMiner, Brian Johnson. And guess what? Markets went up. Yes, they did. For those of you playing along at home, we talked about this weekend, and I had made mention that, if we didn't see a lot of news over the weekend, there just wasn't any reason not to think that we couldn't push a little bit higher. And that's actually what we saw even from the get-go today. Opened up kind of flat, giving an opportunity to maybe start positioning yourself with a potential long. If you were in from last week on my mention of a break over 10,400, good for you. Paid off for you today. I hope you held on. If you were not in, that's fine. I mentioned over the weekend doesn't make a difference. There were other opportunities to get in. Today we saw, like I said, beginning of the day, kind of a quick run right at the beginning, and then a slow grind upwards to where? Right to that 10,500 mark. That was your area to get long again, and here we are. The 10,400 was my entry last week for you. 10,250 for the more aggressive. We got in above 10,400, and then it went about 25 points and stopped right on Friday, didn't it? And I was like, oh, hard to hold over that, over a weekend. However, today ran right up to the 10,500, and of course I said that's your next entry to get long, and here we are breaking 10,500 by what? Yeah, right at the very end of the day by another 25 points. So your call again as to whether you wanted to jump in there as well. What I still think maybe we're looking at is 1, 2, maybe you can make a 5 out of this or a 3 out of this. Doesn't really matter. This looks like I said, a pretty clear 5 down, but that doesn't make sense because according to Elliott wave, it's got to be 3 in this middle wave here. So anyway, we'll call it 3. I don't care; it doesn't make a difference. The point is, the direction is up. This now looks like a 1, 2. This looks like a 3. So I would be looking now for a pullback. At this point, if you didn't get in and you're not already long, I want to be a little cautious here. I think the next area is 10,600 now to look for an entry. If we get a little bit of a pullback that tests this 10,400 and holds, that will be the next launching pad probably for another little push higher. A lot of times these things like to come back and retest some of these areas. And if it'll hold, then we have a good launching pad for another move up. But you can see now, above all of this mess, look at all of this. I think it's kind of game on for the Bulls at this point, at least in the short term. I'm going to give the Bears a day, maybe 2, depending on what we see tomorrow, to pull this thing back down, get it back below all of this 10,400, 10,250-ish area. But for the time being, got to hand it to the Bulls, and I've got to remain neutral to now bullish on the markets, as we talked about over the weekend. NASDAQ on a 60 also saw the same thing, up just about 1%-ish or so, 15 points. That was your move above the 1880-ish level, taking you back to 1890, giving you 10 points of profit. Looking at this daily, guys, I just don't see any reason why we can't hit this line up here. I think the NASDAQ just wants to be yanked that direction now. And so upwards of the 1910, 1915 area is where I would tell you to start looking for overhead resistance. Keep in mind that it's not uncommon for traders to front run this, meaning that they might start to sell short at around 1905, 1910, and that's why I'm telling you 1910 to 1915 for an overhead resistance area. And be careful up in that area. If you are long, that's also a good idea to maybe move up stops and or take profits into that level there. NASDAQ on a weekly now starts the week, but it is only Monday, so I don't really care. You know how that goes with me. SPX on a 60-minute, breaking up and over these areas we had looked at. What did I mention? I said, okay, we got the break over 1100. If this thing will open flat, I think we can run up into what? About 11. I said about 1113 was the area to be watching in through here. And for the longest time, we based right below what? Yeah, about 1113. And that would make sense. It was the 200-day moving average. And then at the end of the day with a little push just up and over. Now keep in mind that the Dow broke this level of overhead resistance today. So will the SPX follow? No reason to think it couldn't. And this area here is about the 1120-ish area. There's good resistance at 1125. So I'm still saying be somewhere between about 11... I'm going to say 11.13 and 11.25, kind of my no-fly zone, guys. You're going to want to be very careful within that area. Anything can happen. Breaks up and over about 11.25 or 11.30 for the more conservative, I think gives you another really good entry to the long side as far back as 11.40, 11.50 maybe, and then potentially 11.70 beyond that. From a weekly, it is only Monday, but notice how we are out of the channel we were kind of watching, or the trend line here break that we saw last Friday. Continuing that motion to the upside today, keeping in mind the 20-week moving average as we push forward. VIX still doing the little dance sideways, but I told you any breaks back below here would not be a big surprise to see it fall back into this level here, which would mean more bullishness in the markets. That's precisely what we're seeing now as we broke the 200 on the VIX. It is now starting, at least for today, a decent drop, 3%. Not a bad drop. Definitely confirming the move up in the markets with a move down in the VIX. Fear coming out of the markets. I really think this is a good area to start watching for lower support at this point. The weekly, of course, it's only Monday. We just started. I can draw in some lines here, and maybe will later in the week. Just keep in mind that this has room to roam to the downside. Fear comes out of the markets, and they should continue a move to the upside. Apple still consolidating. Really, guys, I'm telling you, I really like Apple in this area. Back below this line for a short, back above this line for a long. The NASDAQ up almost 1% today. Apple down. That's not good. Certainly doesn't show strength, but it doesn't show weakness at this point either. We are not dropping drastically. We're just consolidating, waiting for that next move. Which way will it be? My bias has to remain in a bullish position for the time being, because that's exactly what the charts are telling me. Pushes back up over 260, I think, are still great opportunities in Apple. You can see the gap up, run down. It's not uncommon to see a stock kind of consolidate for a while after a large move. Earnings are usually that big move. Now we're seeing some consolidation, waiting for breaks one way or the other. And of course, hanging above the 20-week moving average so far, but it's only one day into it. FAS was a good trade today. We saw some opportunities here as we broke up and over these levels, coming right smack dab into overhead resistance at 23 and stopping and stopping and stopping. It was like 4 or 5 hours of 23 holding. So watching for breaks over 23 obviously gives you, I think, a pretty good opportunity to go long. Above the 50 was your opportunity today. That was above about 22.50, giving you 50 cents of profit just today alone. Here on a daily, if we can get just over that 23, I think this area here is very plausible as the next level of overhead resistance. FAS on a 60-minute, we also saw it drop. I liked it below 14 and really liked it below 13.50. We did not reach that level today. However, below 13.50 is still a decent short for FAS, no doubt about it. From a daily standpoint, that would take us back into the 13 to 13.25-ish area and maybe even lower. Still good opportunities to trade those. Gotta be nimble, guys, and gotta be watching it on, I think right now, a more intraday basis. But we are certainly getting to a point where I might not be quite as nervous to hold overnight. So we get any hard, decent breaks tomorrow below about 13.50 with accelerated pressure to the downside, I might not be too scared to hold overnight for at least a night on FAS or FAZ, either one of them. That'll do it for today. We saw the breaks. These levels are beautiful. Look at how well these lines are working for us, guys. This is gorgeous. Got that break above 10,400. Got the run right to 10,500 where we stopped, stop, and finally pop above it right at the end of the day. And now, will we hold? Yeah, why not? I don't see why not. We can run right up here into the 10,600 area. Once again, if you are not already long, you might want to be a little cautious at this point. Play it more on an intraday standpoint. If you have been holding over the weekend and held overnight, yeah, without any major disasters in the morning on earnings or anything like that, I absolutely think there's opportunity to move up. And I'm going to do a subscribers video next, and I'll give those guys even more ideas to think about when tomorrow morning comes around. And for the rest of you, I will see you again when, as always, tomorrow night. I'm always here for you guys. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.